All right, let's try to take a look at a simple exercise now. So you are familiar with this data. This data was presented to you in the last lecture, last week's lecture. So it was like the data of different universities, different departments, number of students. Okay. One of the things that I introduced you in the last week, that was like this NaN type data. Okay, NaN type data. Okay. Now NaN stands for not a number. Okay, so we are actually using this none because that means that this department was not actually available in that university. Okay, if you don't remember this, please go through the last week's lecture manual. Okay, last week's lab manual, and you will see. So none means this department that was here of this university was not presented or something like that. Now, one of the thing we also saw that when actually trying to plotting this data, if the data, this column actually contains none value, we cannot actually plot it. Okay, let's copy it and see it again. So this is our data. Okay, so I can just go here. So this is our data. If I want to plot it something like this, if I want to plot something like this, if you remember, I can go to the plots option and I can plot different types of plot. Say for example, I want to plot this I this is our pie plot. Okay, so as you can see, the percentage of different types of different departments, how many students are there in different departments, it is creating a ratio of those things. Okay, you can also insert some of the things like this title, or say this title, you have to write a title like this, for example, students in buet. Okay, students in buet. So this is the title I can add. Also you can add some X level, Y level. There is something that is called legend. Okay, the legend is, you can also edit the legends as well. Okay, I am just putting it here. The data one means this one, and this is our data one. So 120 students, so that is like 40%. Okay, something like this. Okay, so and this is our data. This is our pie plot for this amount of data to actually for easy visualization. We can do that. Now, if I actually try to do the same thing for this column, let's go to the plot and see if I can. Now, as you can see, there is an error is provided. It says that all data must be finite in pie chart. What is not finite is this none, because this one is missing. Okay, so this actually happens a lot of times when you work with practical data. Some of the rows, some of the columns, some of the data may be missing. So what we do then is that we convert this none value to an integer value like 0. So if I convert this thing into a 0, then I will be able to plot. None means that is not present. So it is to represent that thing, none is important. But when you are actually working on it, okay, I can just put it 0 to work on it very flexible, to make it flexible to work with. Okay, so how we can actually do that? So this is our data. If you remember, I introduced one of the things like is none of, if I write something like is none of data, you will see it is going to provide me a logical array. So all of these things are 0. Only when I have a none, it is providing our 1. Okay, so what you want to do is like, I want to take this data. So this is our data. I want to replace this nuns with 0, say 0. Okay, or anything else. We want to replace it with 0. So how we can do that? Okay, so let's try to write a code. This is our exercise 8. This is our exercise 2, 0, 8 or 7 or whatever, it doesn't matter now. So what we are going to do here first, a is equals to our is none data, that is we already written here. So it is going to provide me this thing. Okay, let me actually write this way. So after that, what we can do, if you remember another function that we used called find only gives me the index. Find gives me the linear index, okay, of these ones, okay, the non-zero elements. So if I write something like b is equals to find a, okay, so what it will give, it will give the index of this thing. And what is the index of this thing? Try to guess by yourself. Okay, but if we try to look, there is 7 columns. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Then again go there. let's run it and see what actually it shows. So this is like 12, then 21, 33, and 34. These are the index of these elements which are none, and I want to replace these elements with 0. So we can write something like this. Our original data of B is assigning this thing. Okay, that means data, these indexes will be assigned to this value 0, and see how it actually looks like. Okay, so I think this is, you already know this. Okay, so I don't need to show it again. Okay, let's do something. Let's see the data first. Okay, it will actually help you to visualize properly. So as you can see, this is our data. Okay, and this was nan. Now I have replaced this with 0. This was none. I have replaced this with 0, and these two are none, replaced with these things 0. As you can see, our original data here have been updated. If you look at it, because we have updated the value, I have assigned something in this script. So whenever I assign something in this script in the workspace, that will be updated, because this is a global variable. Okay, it is not like a function. So I believe it is clear. So let's take a look at the data now. And now let's try to plot it. If I try to plot this pie plot, okay, as you can see now, the data is actually visible. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Although there are 7 rows here, because 7 departments, since this is 0, it is not actually shown here. Okay, now let's try to plot something that is called our legend. Okay, as you can see, there are only 6 elements, because the 0 is considered nothing, so it is not a part of it. Okay, we can actually do something more, like for example, if I try to plot something different like bar plot. Now as you can see, now it is actually showing that, so the first department had 120 students, second department had 120, third department had 80, fourth had 80, fifth department had 0. So what we can do here also, when you're doing this, so go to the insert, let's do some X level. So our X level was the departments, right? So I can just write it here, something like department. Okay, department, and this makes it easy to understand what is the X level and what is the Y level. So whenever you're plotting something, it is good practice to actually label these things. Okay, let's put some Y level here. Okay, this will appear. You can just write, say, number of students. Okay, this hash sign actually represents the number of students. Okay, you can also check some other things. There are many other things. There are many other tools also. You can also modify these things a lot. There are these different options to do something like that. You can actually also try to do those things, see those things by yourself. Okay, try to explore by yourself a little bit. So this is our data, and this is actually done. Here, just go through these things, whatever I have written here. And one thing is that, for example, I have written here is none. There is another thing I've written, something that is called is missing. Okay, now what is actually is missing? Okay, now uh, when we are actually trying to represent something like numerical data, we use this none value, not a number. None stands for not a number. Okay, but what if I have something like a string? Okay, let's try to take a look. So say I have a cell like this. Okay, and let's write, for example, say Batman. Okay, then I have another string like Superman. Okay, then I have an empty string, something like this. Okay, then say I have something else, for example, say what is called, okay, wonder, something like that. So I have this 4. Okay, I have this cell with 4 elements, but this is an empty element. Okay, so how do I know which cell is empty? Okay, I want to know which of the cell is empty, or which of the cell does not have any value, does not contain any value. Does not contain any value means that it is actually empty. Empty means it doesn't exist, or something like that. So to do that, if I try something like is none of a, that we actually do previously, if I write something like is none of a, it is going to actually give us a error. If you see, is none is not actually defined for type cell. So what can we do? We can do something that is called is missing. Now as you can see, when I type this is missing, it is going to show me this 0010. So this is 1. So this is actually something missing. Okay, so this is another function like is none. This is another one, is missing. It can work with different data types like integer data type, or character data type, or say date time array, or different. There are many different data types. It can work with all of those things. Okay. If you try to take a look at our original data, it has been updated. Let's copy it again. So this was our name data, none data. Now if I come here and okay, so this was our data, and try to write this is missing with this data and see if we can actually go to get something. As you can see, it is actually working same. So is none or is missing is actually same thing, but is none only works for numerical data, while this is missing app works for any type of data. Okay, you can also go here. Okay, if you go here is missing, try to take a look. So as you can see, it is actually showing that is missing a returns a logical array that indicates which elements of an array or table contain missing values. Okay, for example, none for double, single, NAT for date time, this missing for string. There are different types of, actually these are all different types of data types. Okay, I have introduced only few of those things. I'll try to introduce some more, okay, later on, and you can actually check these things. There are different examples are also given. You can actually check those things by yourself. Okay, I hope it is clear. So let's wrap this thing up, wrap this one up.